The Urantia Revelation says there are 10 core of beings that are just between mortals and angels. They were seen by Adam and Eve and their posterity until mortals lost the ability to see them. They are a stationary number and stay on the planet as custodians, and are assigned to be with those who have special callings on the earth, like, for example, the apostles. These beings are an amazing group of beings, and they witnessed and recorded the life and teachings of Jesus when he was living on our earth. The 10 core of beings are called midwayers. I am certain that the Church of Jesus Christ is the only church where the people are taught that 10 tribes or cores of beings would someday bring us the teachings of Jesus Christ. When I was a young girl, I used to hear a lot about the 10 tribes and how they would return to bring their record of Jesus Christ to us. I even remember my grandfather telling me about them and their expected return. I seldom hear it now, except it remains in the 13 Articles of Faith as the beginning of the 10th article. We believe in the literal gathering of Israel and in the restoration of the 10 tribes. Now, of course, they take a literal interpretation of this and think it is about the descendants of the 10 tribes coming back to civilization. As a child, I was told they had left and were in the north, and they would come to America to bring us a record of when Jesus Christ visited them. As I read the Urantia papers, I realized that the life and teachings of Jesus were brought to us by the midwayers, and there were 10 core of the united primary and secondary midwayers. The Revelation tells us that something science discovers, and with other celestial help, mortals will once again be able to see them. In other words, they will literally return or be restored. When you think about it, those 10 core of beings could be called genuine Israelites, as they were partly created by Adam and Eve's posterity and were seen for many years before mortals lost their ability to see them. They continue to be here on earth generation after generation, doing what they were created to do, even though we can't see them. I think it was left in the prophecies of the church for a reason, so that some would be expecting revelation about the life and teachings of Jesus. In 1984, I went to a meeting where a leader of the church was speaking. He had just returned to Utah after serving as a mission president in Australia. There was a large audience gathered in the state tabernacle to hear him. I recall that he held up a 3-in-1. We have printed in the same binding the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price, and we call it a 3-in-1. He held the book up and asked, "Is this the great 3-in-1 that we are expecting?" And to everyone's surprise, he said, "No." Then he held up a Bible and said, "This is the first testimony of Jesus Christ." Then he held up the Book of Mormon and he said, "This is the second testimony of Jesus Christ." And then he talked about how the 10 tribes would return someday with their record of Jesus Christ. And then he said, "There will yet come a great book which will be the third testimony of Jesus Christ." I listened with rapt attention. I thought to myself, I've had that book in my home since 1967, and how grateful I am. I can go home this very night and read it. I realized that night that there were members of the church who were expecting the big book of Revelation, the third testimony of Jesus Christ. I wish I had gone up to speak to him and shared the revelation with him, but I was honestly in a state of shock, and for many reasons I was not ready to share. As members know, the college students attend what is called institute classes at the various universities where they can take in-depth classes to study the scriptures. In the Institute Manual for the Old Testament, it is recorded that in 1917, at a general conference of the church, an apostle stated that when we find the lost tribes, that they would have more scriptures for us about Jesus, and that we would learn from said scriptures, and that some people who were in the congregation at that time would read the lost tribes' scriptures before they passed on. I realized that people born in 1917 would have only been 38 years of age in 1955 when the Urantia Book was published. So if a person in that audience was a baby and lived to be 100 years of age, they would live to the year 2017. I hope someone in that audience was guided to discover the Urantia Revelation that the 10 Corps of Midwayers made possible for us. Members of the Church of Jesus Christ, of course, know the Articles of Faith very well, but I will add this explanation for the benefit of non-members who may also listen and watch these videos. I'm reading from the Pearl of Great Price Student Manual of the year 2000. Quote, "The prophet Joseph Smith was occasionally called on to explain the teachings and practices of Mormonism to outsiders. A significant example was the Wentworth Letter. In the spring of 1842, John Wentworth, editor of the Chicago Democrat, asked Joseph Smith to provide him with a sketch of the rise, progress, persecution, and the faith of the Latter-day Saints. Joseph complied with this request and sent Wentworth a multi-page document containing an account of many of the early events in the history of the Restoration, including the first vision and the coming forth of the Book of Mormon. The document also contained 13 statements outlining Latter-day Saint beliefs, which have come to be known as the Articles of Faith. Wentworth did not publish this document in the Chicago Democrat, nor did it ever appear in any history of New Hampshire, but the church's newspaper, Times and Seasons, published it in March 1842, and it has become one of the most important statements of inspiration, history, and doctrine for the church. I would like to remind all who listen to this Harmony series of the 9th Article of Faith, as it shows the Church of Jesus Christ has a belief that God will indeed give more revelation. Quote, "We believe all that God has revealed, all that he does now reveal, and we believe that he will yet reveal many great and important things pertaining to the kingdom of God."